The stars looked different through alien eyes. Admiral Kale pressed his four-fingered hand against the cool metal of the observation deck as his massive warship drifted through the darkness of space. His purple skin reflected the light from distant suns, and his large black eyes studied the data scrolling across the holographic displays. "Another primitive world, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. The younger alien's voice carried the same bored tone that Kale had heard 1,000 times before. "Third planet from a yellow star. The species calls itself human." Kale turned his attention to the glowing screen. Images of a blue and green world appeared before him. Cities sprawled across continents, connected by thin lines of roads and dotted with lights. From space it looked almost peaceful. But the data told a different story. "Show me the conflict reports," Kale commanded. The display changed, showing red zones scattered across the planet's surface. Each red zone marked an area where humans fought other humans. Wars, battles, and smaller conflicts painted the world. In violence, the tactical computer counted them automatically. 347 active conflicts. Thousands more that had ended in recent years. "They fight constantly," the tactical officer continued. "Brother against brother, nation against nation. They have been at war with themselves for their entire recorded history." Kale studied the images of human weapons. Crude metal projectiles fired from simple tubes. Chemical explosives that relied on basic reactions. Flying machines that barely managed to stay in the air. Their most advanced weapons could destroy single buildings. The hegemony's basic patrol ships could destroy entire continents. "What about their technology level?" Kale asked. "Primitive," came the quick response. "They have just begun to leave their homeworld. A few small outposts on their closest moon. Some mechanical probes sent to nearby planets. Their fastest ships would take them generations to reach even the closest star." On Earth, Captain Lee Tiemann stood in the command center of the United Earth Defense Force. Banks of computers hummed around him, their screens showing data from satellites and deep space monitoring stations. He was a tall man with dark hair and serious eyes, wearing a simple military uniform marked with the patches of a dozen different nations. "Sir, we're getting those readings again," reported Lieutenant Park Sumi from her station. She was young, but experienced, having served in 3 different conflicts before joining the UEDF. "The energy signatures are stronger today." Tiemann walked over to her station and looked at the screen. Strange patterns of light pulsed across the display, showing energy levels that their best scientists could barely understand. "How many ships do you think we're looking at?" "Based on the energy output, maybe 50 or 60 large vessels," Park Sumi replied. "But sir, these readings are unlike anything in our databases. The power levels are massive." "In the research facility?" Below the command center, Dr. Park Myra examined intercepted transmissions on her computer screen. She was a small woman with quick hands and bright eyes, specializing in languages and communication patterns. The alien signals had been arriving for weeks, and she had finally managed to decode parts of them. "They're talking about us," she said to her assistant, a young man named Kim Jae-won. "The translation is rough, but the meaning is clear. They see Earth as a target." Kim Jae-won leaned over her shoulder to read the translated text. "Target for what?" "Conquest," Dr. Park Myra replied quietly. "They plan to invade." Back in space, Admiral Kale listened to reports from scout ships that had observed Earth from the edge of the solar system. The humans had detected some of their presence but showed no real understanding of what was coming. Their defensive preparations were laughably weak. A few orbital platforms with simple weapons, atmospheric fighters that could barely reach space. No shields, no energy weapons, no faster-than-light communication. "They cannot even unite against an outside threat," the tactical officer added. "Our intelligence shows they remain divided into hundreds of separate governments. Many of these governments still fight each other even as we approach." Kale smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perfect. The Galactic Council will be pleased. This will serve as an excellent example to other worlds that might consider resistance." The hegemony had conquered hundreds of worlds using the same basic strategy. Arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, occupy the planet, and relocate the population to work camps. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw the size of the invasion fleet. Those that fought usually lasted only days before their military forces collapsed. How long do you estimate for complete pacification? Kale asked. The tactical officer consulted his computer. Based on previous operations against similar species, no more than 2 standard weeks, Admiral. Possibly less if they surrender quickly. On Earth, emergency meetings took place in government buildings around the world. Military leaders and scientists gathered in secure rooms, studying the same energy readings that had puzzled the UEDF. Most reached the same conclusion that Dr. Park Myra had reached days earlier. General Han Wuben stood before a room full of officers in Seoul. He was an older man with gray hair and scars from previous wars, but his mind remained sharp. "The signals are definitely artificial," he announced. "We are looking at a first contact scenario, and it does not appear to be friendly. What are our options?" asked Colonel Yoon Ji-yoon, a woman known for her tactical skill and calm thinking. "Limited," General Han replied honestly. "If these energy readings are accurate, we are facing technology far beyond our current capabilities. Our weapons may be completely ineffective." Similar conversations happened in military headquarters across the planet. The humans began to prepare for war, but they knew the odds were against them. Their space-based defenses consisted of a few armed satellites and 2 small orbital stations. Their ground forces, while experienced from constant warfare with each other, had never faced an alien enemy. Admiral Kale made his final preparations for the invasion. The hegemony fleet assembled at the edge of human space, hundreds of massive ships waiting for the order to advance. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city, and the fleet together could sterilize the entire planet if necessary. "Send the standard surrender demand," Kale ordered. "Give them 1 rotation to respond." The message was transmitted toward Earth in multiple frequencies, automatically translated into the major human languages. The meaning was simple and direct. Surrender unconditionally or face complete destruction. No negotiations. No alternatives. When the message reached Earth, leaders around the world read it with growing fear and anger. They had hours to decide the fate of their entire species. Some argued for immediate surrender. Others demanded that they fight regardless of the odds. Captain Lee Tiemann read the alien ultimatum in his command center, surrounded by officers who looked to him for guidance. Outside the reinforced windows, he could see the lights of the city continuing as normal. People going about their daily lives, unaware that their world was about to change forever. "Sir," Lieutenant Park Sumi asked quietly, "what are your orders?" Tiemann looked at the message one more time, then at the faces of his officers. These were people who had spent their lives preparing for war, but never a war like this. "Prepare all defenses," he said finally, "and send a message to all military commands worldwide. Tell them we fight." The die was cast. Humanity would meet its first alien contact with defiance rather than submission. Neither side yet understood how completely this decision would change the galaxy. The alien fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a storm made of metal and death. Admiral Kale's flagship led the formation, its hull stretching for miles across the darkness of space. Behind it came hundreds of smaller warships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. On Earth, every radar station and telescope pointed toward the approaching fleet. The images that came back filled screens in command centers around the world with vessels that looked like floating cities. Their dark hulls reflected no light, and strange energy patterns danced across their surfaces. Captain Lee Tiemann stood in the main command room of the United Earth Defense Force, watching the tactical display update every few seconds. Red dots marked the position of alien ships, growing larger and more numerous as they moved deeper into the solar system. "How many ships are we looking at now?" he asked Lieutenant Park Sumi. "Over 300 confirmed contacts, sir," she replied, her voice tight with worry. "The largest ones are bigger than our entire orbital defense platforms." Dr. Park Myra worked frantically at her translation station, trying to decode the flood of alien communications filling the radio spectrum. The messages were complex, but their meaning was becoming clear. The aliens were coordinating their approach with military precision. "They're organizing into battle formations," she reported. "Multiple attack groups, support vessels, and what looks like command ships staying back from the main force." 3 days later, the alien fleet took position in orbit around Earth. Their ships blocked out portions of the sky, casting shadows over entire continents. No shots had been fired yet, but everyone understood that humanity was completely surrounded. Commander Yoon Ji-yoon received orders that she had hoped would never come. She was to take a small diplomatic shuttle and meet with the alien commanders aboard their flagship. The mission was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but someone had to represent humanity in this first face-to-face contact. "Remember," General Han Woo-bin told her before departure, "you are not there to surrender. You are there to buy us time and learn everything you can about them." Commander Yoon was a small woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. She had commanded troops in 4 different wars and earned respect for her ability to stay calm under pressure. As her shuttle approached the massive alien flagship, she felt fear trying to crawl up her spine, but she pushed it down. The alien ship was even more impressive up close. Its hull stretched in all directions, covered with weapons ports and sensor arrays. Strange lights pulsed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. When her shuttle was pulled into a docking bay, Commander Yoon saw technology that seemed impossible. Gravity generators kept her feet on the floor despite being in space. The air was breathable but tasted strange, filled with scents she could not identify. Alien crew members moved through corridors that were too tall and too wide for human comfort. They looked at her with eyes that showed no emotion. General Vorth waited for her in what appeared to be a command center. He was tall even by alien standards, with dark purple skin and 4 arms. When he spoke, his voice came through a translation device that made his words sound hollow and mechanical. "You represent the human leadership," he said. It was not a question. "I represent the United Earth Defense Force." Commander Yoon replied carefully. General Vorth gestured to screens showing images of Earth from orbit. Cities, military bases, population centers, all marked with targeting indicators. "Your world will surrender unconditionally. Your people will be relocated to designated work areas. Your military will be disbanded. This is not a negotiation." Commander Yoon had expected this, but hearing it stated so clearly still made her angry. "And if we refuse? Then your cities will be reduced to ash and your people eliminated," General Vorth replied as casually as if he were discussing the weather. "We have done this hundreds of times. Resistance only increases suffering." The meeting continued for 2 hours. General Vorth showed her recordings of other worlds that had been conquered by the hegemony. Planets where cities had been destroyed from orbit. Populations forced into slavery. Entire species reduced to scattered survivors working in alien mines and factories. But Lieutenant Kim Soo-young, who served as Commander Yoon's military aide, noticed things that the aliens probably did not expect her to see. She was young but had studied engineering before joining the military. Her trained eye picked up details about alien technology that seemed important. The alien weapons were powerful, but slow to recharge. Their targeting systems followed predictable patterns. Most importantly, their computer interfaces seemed rigid and inflexible, designed for users who thought in very structured ways. When the meeting ended, Commander Yoon was escorted back to her shuttle with the alien ultimatum. Earth had 72 hours to surrender completely or face total destruction. During the return flight to Earth, Lieutenant Kim Soo-young shared her observations with Commander Yoon. "Their technology is advanced, but it seems old," she said quietly. "Like they built it a long time ago and never changed it." "What do you mean?" Commander Yoon asked. "The interfaces I saw were complicated but rigid. No flexibility, no adaptation. They do things the same way every time because that is how their systems are designed to work." Back on Earth, Professor Han Woo-bin was making similar discoveries in his secret laboratory. 3 days earlier, human forces had shot down an alien scout ship over the Pacific Ocean. The wreckage had been recovered and brought to his facility for analysis. What Professor Han found surprised him. The alien technology was certainly more advanced than anything humans possessed, but it was not as superior as it first appeared. Their computers used quantum processing, but the software was inefficient. Their weapons were powerful, but the targeting systems were slow and predictable. They have become lazy, Professor Han told his research team. They have conquered so many worlds easily that they stopped trying to improve their technology. Dr. Shin Yunji, his lead engineer, examined the alien power systems. "Look at this," she said, pointing to complex diagrams on her screen. "Their power distribution is centralized. If you disable the main node, the entire system shuts down." This was information that could change everything. The aliens had superior technology, but they had not faced a real challenge in so long that their systems had weaknesses. Meanwhile, Captain Zhang Haiyanwu was preparing for a mission that everyone considered impossible. He commanded a special forces unit trained in boarding actions and sabotage. His plan was to infiltrate the alien flagship and plant surveillance devices in their computer networks. "The shuttle docking sequence is automated," Lieutenant Kim Soo-young explained to his team. "I memorized the approach pattern and security protocols. If we can mimic their systems, we might be able to get aboard without being detected." The plan was dangerous and had little chance of success, but it was their only opportunity to gather intelligence from inside the alien fleet. Captain Zhang selected 12 of his best soldiers, all volunteers who understood they probably would not return. As Earth's deadline approached, the human response was taking shape. Publicly, world leaders announced they were considering surrender to save civilian lives. Secretly, military commanders prepared for a fight that would determine the future of their species. Admiral Kale watched from his flagship as human military units around the world began what appeared to be surrender preparations. Cities were being evacuated, military bases were powering down their weapon systems, and government officials were broadcasting messages of compliance. "They are weaker than we anticipated," he told his staff. "This may be the easiest conquest in hegemony history." But Admiral Kale did not know that the human evacuations were carefully planned deceptions. The cities being abandoned were being turned into traps. The military bases powering down were secretly preparing hidden weapons. And the government messages of surrender were covering the largest military mobilization in human history. Earth had chosen to fight, and the aliens were about to discover that underestimating humanity was a deadly mistake. The surrender announcement came from every major Earth government at exactly the same time. President Chen spoke from Washington, Prime Minister Patel from London, and dozens of other leaders from their capitals. The message was simple and clear. Humanity would accept alien rule to avoid total destruction. Admiral Kale listened to the broadcast from his flagship with deep satisfaction. Another world had chosen survival over pointless resistance. His tactical staff prepared occupation protocols that had been used successfully on hundreds of other planets. "Begin the first wave deployment," Admiral Kale ordered. Standard occupation pattern. Secure major population centers, establish processing facilities, and begin cataloging human resources. Within hours, alien dropships descended from orbit. Like falling meteors, they landed in the centers of major cities around the world, their hulls smoking from atmospheric entry. Ramps lowered and alien soldiers marched out in perfect formation, their advanced weapons sweeping empty streets, but the cities were not as empty as they appeared. Dr. Shin Yunji crouched in a hidden bunker beneath the streets of Seoul, watching live video feeds from cameras placed throughout the city. She was a small woman with steady hands and a brilliant mind for engineering. Around her, dozens of technicians monitored similar feeds from cities across the globe. "They are following the predicted pattern," she reported into her secure communicator. "All major intersections occupied, command posts established in government buildings, patrol routes exactly as our analysis suggested." The aliens moved through human cities with the confidence of conquerors. They had done this so many times that every action was automatic. Secure the transportation hubs, control the communication networks, establish collection points for processing. The population. What they did not know was that every abandoned building had been prepared for their arrival. Every empty street contained hidden sensors. Every government facility they occupied had been carefully modified before the humans evacuated. Lieutenant Colonel Kim Hyun-woo watched from his concealed position as alien soldiers entered the city. Hall building in Tokyo, they moved in standard formation, checking corners and clearing rooms according to their training manual. But their training manual had been written for a species that fought conventionally. Team Alpha, you are clear to begin, he whispered into his radio. In the basement of the building. Explosive charges that had been hidden weeks earlier began their countdown sequence. But these were not ordinary explosives. Human engineers had studied the captured alien technology and discovered that their energy shields were designed to stop fast-moving projectiles and energy beams. They were not designed to handle slow pressure. Waves that built up over time, the explosion came from below, moving upward through the building's structure in a rolling wave of destruction. The alien shields flickered and failed as the pressure wave reached them. 30 alien soldiers were eliminated in the first 10 seconds of what they thought would be a routine occupation. Similar scenes played out in cities around the world. Buildings collapsed with aliens inside them. Streets cracked open to reveal hidden tunnels filled with human defenders. What appeared to be abandoned vehicles exploded when alien patrols came close to them. Captain Jang Hyun-woo had spent the last week preparing for the most dangerous mission of his life. While the world's attention focused on the surrender negotiations, he and his team had modified a captured alien shuttle to infiltrate the enemy flagship. Remember, he told his 12 soldiers as they approached the massive ship, we are not there to fight. We are there to plant surveillance devices and gather intelligence. Get in, complete the mission, get out. The alien docking bay was enormous, filled with hundreds of smaller ships and countless alien crew members. Captain Jang's team wore modified human uniforms that mimicked alien clothing patterns. From a distance, they looked like another maintenance crew performing routine work. The ship's computer network was more complex than anything humans had ever built, but it followed logical patterns that could be understood. Lieutenant Park Dae-yeon, the team's computer specialist, connected his modified human equipment to an alien data port. I'm in, he whispered, uploading the virus package now. The virus was not designed to destroy the alien systems immediately. Instead, it was programmed to spread slowly through the network, creating small errors and glitches that would accumulate over time. Navigation systems would develop tiny calculation mistakes. Communication networks would experience brief delays. Weapon targeting would become slightly less accurate. While Park Dae-yeon worked on the computer infiltration, Sergeant Kim Min-soo placed microscopic listening devices throughout the command sections of the ship. The devices were so small that they looked like dust particles, but they could record and transmit everything that happened around them, back on Earth. The alien occupation forces were discovering that conquering humanity would not be as simple as their previous victories. Every position they secured came under attack from hidden human forces. Every facility they occupied suffered mysterious equipment failures. Every patrol they sent out faced ambush from enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. General Vorth studied the casualty reports with growing concern. In the first day of occupation, his forces had lost more soldiers than in some complete planetary conquests. The humans were supposed to have surrendered, but they were fighting with a skill and determination that his intelligence reports had not predicted. How are they coordinating these attacks? He demanded from his intelligence staff. We control all major communication networks. They appear to be using primitive radio systems hidden throughout their cities, his aide reported. Short range, low-power transmissions that are difficult to detect and jam. What the aliens did not realize was that the human communication network was far more sophisticated than it appeared. Dr. Park Myra had spent months developing a system that used ordinary, civilian devices to create an invisible network of information. Sharing. Every smartphone, every computer, Every electronic device in human cities had been secretly modified to carry small packets of military data. The aliens could jam official radio channels, but they could not stop the flow of information through millions of individual devices. Sector 7 reports successful elimination of alien patrol, came the message through Dr. Parkmyra's network. Estimated 15 enemy casualties, no human losses. Similar reports arrived from around the world. Human forces were striking alien positions with precision and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had superior knowledge of their own territory. Major Kong Minho demonstrated this advantage in the ruins of New York City. He had positioned his unit in the subway tunnels beneath Manhattan, using the underground transportation network to move undetected through the city. The aliens think in 3 dimensions, he explained to his soldiers. They secure ground-level positions and maintain air superiority. But they ignore the underground because their homeworlds have no extensive tunnel systems. His plan was simple but effective. Wait for alien patrols to pass overhead, then emerge from manholes and storm drains to attack from behind. Strike quickly, eliminate the target, and disappear back into the tunnels before air support could arrive. The aliens had energy weapons that could destroy buildings, but they were useless in confined underground spaces where the users risked harming themselves. Human soldiers with conventional weapons had the advantage in close-quarters combat. Admiral Kale reviewed the daily reports with increasing frustration. His forces controlled most major cities, but they were taking constant casualties from human resistance. Supply convoys were being ambushed. Communication networks were experiencing systematic failures. Even his flagship was reporting minor technical problems throughout its systems. The humans were supposed to have surrendered, he said to General Voth during their daily briefing. Why are they still fighting? Our intelligence suggests this is the action of scattered military units that refuse to follow surrender orders. General Voth replied, Once we eliminate these holdouts, the planet will be fully pacified. But both alien commanders were beginning to suspect that their intelligence was wrong. The human attacks were too well coordinated to be the work of scattered holdouts. The technical failures affecting their equipment were too systematic to be coincidental, and the humans seemed to know exactly where and when to strike for maximum effect. On his infiltrated flagship, Captain Zhang Haiyanwu's surveillance devices were transmitting valuable intelligence back to Earth. The aliens were confused and frustrated by human resistance, but they were also adapting their tactics and calling for reinforcements. They're requesting additional fleets from 3 nearby systems, Lieutenant Park Dae-yun reported after intercepting alien communications. Estimated arrival time is 2 weeks. The information was immediately transmitted to military commanders around the world. Humanity had 2 weeks to inflict maximum damage on the current invasion force before facing an even larger enemy fleet. Dr. Shin Yunji smiled as she received the intelligence report in her underground command center. 2 weeks was exactly the amount of time she needed to complete her preparations for the next phase of human resistance. The aliens thought they were fighting scattered holdouts, but they were actually facing the entire human species working together in ways they had never imagined possible. And the worst surprises were yet to come. Admiral Kale stared at the holographic display showing casualty reports from across Earth. In 2 weeks of occupation, his forces had lost more soldiers than in their last 10 planetary conquests combined. Red indicators marked positions where entire alien units had simply disappeared. Request immediate reinforcements from the 3rd and 7th battle groups, he ordered his communications officer. And prepare the orbital bombardment systems. If the humans will not surrender peacefully, we will reduce their cities to ash. But when the weapons officer attempted to activate the orbital bombardment systems, nothing happened. The targeting computers showed error messages in alien script. The power systems fluctuated wildly. The massive energy cannons that could destroy continents simply would not function. Sir, the weapons officer reported with barely controlled panic, all primary weapon systems are offline. We are detecting widespread computer malfunctions throughout the fleet. The virus that Captain Zhang Haiyanwu's team had planted weeks earlier was finally showing its full effect. It had spread silently through the alien computer networks, creating tiny errors that accumulated over time. Now those small problems had grown into complete system failures. On Earth, Colonel Park Jiho stood in an underground command center that had once been a subway station. Maps covered every available wall, showing the positions of alien forces and human resistance cells. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes, known throughout the military for his ability to see patterns that others missed. "The aliens are bringing in reinforcements," he announced to his staff. 3 additional fleets, estimated at over 800 ships total. They will arrive within days. His officers looked worried, but Colonel Park smiled. He had been studying every piece of intelligence gathered from the alien occupation, and he had discovered something important about how their military operated. "They fight the same war every time," he explained. "Same tactics, same formations, same response to every situation. They have conquered hundreds of worlds, but they have never learned to adapt because they never needed to." Lieutenant Colonel Kim Hyun-woo nodded in understanding. "You want to teach them what adaptation looks like?" "Exactly," Colonel Park replied. "Every time they try a new approach, we will have already prepared for it. Every time they think they understand our tactics, we will change them completely." Dr. Yang Seo-yoon worked in a converted warehouse that now served as humanity's primary research facility. She was a young woman with quick hands and brilliant mind, specializing in what she called creative warfare applications. Around her, teams of scientists and engineers turned ordinary human technology into weapons that the aliens could not understand or counter. "The alien shield systems are designed to stop direct attacks," she explained to her team while examining captured alien equipment. "But they have no defense against indirect pressure, sonic disruption, or electromagnetic interference." Her latest creation looked like a simple radio antenna, but it generated focused electromagnetic pulses that could disable alien equipment from several miles away. When alien vehicles passed near the hidden devices, their engines would stop working, their communication systems would fail, and their weapons would become useless metal. "Deploy these throughout all major cities," she ordered. "Make sure they look like ordinary civilian equipment. The aliens must not realize what they are until it is too late." Major Kang Min-ho had become a legend among human resistance fighters. His unit had eliminated over 200 alien soldiers without losing a single human life. His secret was simple: never fight the same way twice. "Today we are maintenance workers," he told his soldiers as they put on stolen alien uniforms. "Tomorrow we will be medical personnel. Next week we will be something completely different." His team walked boldly through alien checkpoints, carrying equipment that looked like repair tools but contained powerful explosives. The aliens had learned to expect attacks from hidden positions, but they did not expect enemies who looked like their own support staff. The explosions came simultaneously across the city as Major Kang's disguised soldiers activated their weapons inside alien facilities. Command centers, supply depots, and communication hubs were destroyed in a coordinated strike that the aliens never saw coming. When the alien reinforcements arrived, they found a situation unlike anything in their military history. Their advance forces were surrounded by an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Their superior technology was failing them at critical moments. Their traditional tactics were useless against opponents who changed their methods faster than the aliens could adapt. General Vorth requested an immediate meeting with the commanders of the reinforcement fleets. The meeting took place aboard his flagship, which was still experiencing random system failures despite the efforts of his technical staff. "The humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered before," he reported. "They use tactics that change daily. They strike from unexpected directions. They turn our own technology against us." Fleet Commander Zeth, leader of the 3rd Battle Group, studied the tactical reports with growing confusion. "These are primitive beings with crude weapons. How are they causing such problems for our advanced forces?" "That is what we do not understand," General Vorth replied. "They appear to learn from every engagement. Every time we develop a counter to their tactics, they immediately switch to something completely different. Back on Earth, the human resistance had grown into something unprecedented in galactic history. Every major city contained hidden networks of fighters who communicated through systems the aliens could not detect or jam. Every civilian was a potential intelligence gatherer. Every building was a possible weapons platform. Dr. Park Myra had expanded her communication network to include devices the aliens did not even recognize as technology. Children's toys carried encrypted messages. Household appliances monitored alien movements. Even the plants in public parks contained microscopic sensors that reported on enemy activities. "We are not just fighting them," she explained to a gathering of resistance leaders. "We are learning everything about them. How they think, how they plan, how they react to different situations. Every piece of information makes us more effective." The alien reinforcement fleets deployed around Earth in standard battle formation, preparing to end human resistance through overwhelming force. But as they moved into position, their ships began experiencing the same system failures that had plagued the first invasion force. Captain Lee Tiemann watched from his underground command center as alien ships collided with each other in orbit. Navigation systems guided vessels into impossible positions. Communication breakdowns led to friendly fire incidents. Weapon systems activated randomly, destroying alien facilities on the ground. "They brought more ships," he observed to his staff. "But they also brought more targets for our electronic warfare systems." The tide of the war was turning, but not through superior firepower or advanced technology. Humanity was winning through pure adaptability, turning every alien advantage into a human opportunity. Colonel Park Ji-ho prepared for the next phase of his plan. The aliens had committed all their available forces to conquering Earth. Now it was time to show them that they had made a fatal mistake in underestimating the most adaptable species in the galaxy. News of the human resistance spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On distant worlds controlled by the hegemony, alien administrators received reports that seemed impossible to believe. A primitive species was not only fighting back against overwhelming odds, but actually winning battles against advanced alien forces. Commander Jan Wasson stood in the bridge of humanity's first interstellar spacecraft. The ship had been built in secret using a combination of human engineering and captured alien technology. It was smaller than the smallest alien vessel, but it was fast and nearly invisible to their detection systems. "Approaching the Kepler system," reported her navigation officer, Lieutenant Oh Min-jae. 3 inhabited worlds, all under hegemony control for over 50 years. Commander Yeon was a veteran pilot who had learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere before the invasion began. Now she commanded a ship that could travel between stars, carrying a message that would change the galaxy forever. "Begin broadcasting on all frequencies," she ordered. "Let them know that humanity is still fighting and that resistance is possible." The message reached the enslaved populations of 3 different worlds simultaneously. For the first time in decades, species that had given up hope heard that someone was successfully fighting the hegemony. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating to alien morale on Earth. The war had entered a new phase that the aliens could not understand or counter. Human forces no longer simply defended their territory. They had begun actively hunting alien units with a precision that seemed impossible given their technological disadvantage. Captain Lee Yeon-jin led a strike team through the ruins of London, tracking an alien patrol that had been separated from its main force. Her soldiers moved through the destroyed buildings like ghosts, using knowledge of human architecture that the aliens could never match. "Target acquired," whispered Sergeant Kim Tae-young from his concealed position. 12 alien soldiers moving in standard formation toward the river. "Wait for them to reach the bridge," Captain Lee replied. "Remember, we want prisoners for intelligence gathering, not just casualties." The aliens walked directly into the trap without suspecting anything. The bridge had been weakened with precisely placed charges that would collapse under the weight of their heavy armor. When the structure failed, The aliens fell into a net system that Captain Lee's team had installed weeks earlier. Within minutes, human soldiers surrounded the trapped aliens with weapons aimed directly at their weak points. The capture was completed without firing a single shot, demonstrating a level of tactical sophistication that the aliens had not expected from a primitive species. Admiral Kale received the prisoner reports with growing desperation. His forces were not just losing battles, they were losing entire units without trace. The humans seemed to know exactly where every alien patrol would be and when they would be most vulnerable. How are they predicting our movements so accurately? He demanded from his intelligence staff. We believe they have infiltrated our communication networks, his aide reported nervously. Every message we send appears to be intercepted and decoded almost immediately. What the aliens did not know was that the infiltration was far more complete than they imagined. The surveillance devices planted by Captain Zhang Haiyanwu's team had grown into a comprehensive intelligence network that monitored every aspect of alien operations. Lieutenant Commander O. Min-jae coordinated the intelligence gathering from a facility that looked like an ordinary office building but contained the most advanced analysis equipment humanity had ever built. Banks of computers processed alien communications, movement, patterns, and tactical doctrines in real time. Pattern identified, she announced to her team. The aliens will attempt a major offensive in Sector 7 within the next 6 hours. Estimated force strength: 300 soldiers, 12 heavy vehicles, air support from orbit. The information was immediately transmitted to human forces in the area, who began preparing reception plans that would turn the alien offensive into a complete disaster. Dr. Yang Seo-Yun had perfected her electromagnetic warfare systems to the point where they could disable entire alien fleets simultaneously. Her latest creation was a network of hidden transmitters that could generate coordinated interference patterns across vast areas. The alien ships use quantum computing for navigation, she explained to Colonel Park Ji-ho. If we can create quantum interference at the right frequency, their entire fleet will become lost in space. The plan was implemented just as Admiral Kale ordered his remaining forces to retreat from Earth orbit. As the alien ships attempted to coordinate their withdrawal, the quantum interference system activated. Navigation computers failed across the entire fleet. Ships that tried to jump to hyperspace found themselves emerging in random locations. Some appeared inside asteroid fields. Others materialized dangerously close to Earth's sun. General Han Wubin watched the chaos from his command center with satisfaction. The aliens who had arrived with overwhelming confidence were now scattered across the solar system, their fleet in complete disarray. Sir, reported his communications officer, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 different alien vessels. Accept their surrender, General Han replied, but keep them under guard. We will need to question them about hegemony operations in other systems. The final battle for Earth began when Admiral Kale made a desperate decision. Rather than retreat and face shame before the Galactic Council, he would use his flagship's most powerful weapon to destroy Earth completely. If he could not conquer the humans, he would eliminate them entirely, but the humans had been monitoring his ship's power systems for weeks. Dr. Shin Yunji had developed countermeasures specifically designed to interfere with the alien doomsday weapon. Initiating power drain sequence, she announced as her hidden systems activated throughout the alien flagship. Estimated time to complete weapon shutdown, 3 minutes. Captain Zhang Haiyanwu led a boarding party onto the alien flagship while its systems were failing. His mission was to capture Admiral Kale alive and secure the ship's computer databases. The information contained in those systems would reveal the locations and defenses of every world under hegemony control. The battle through the corridors of the flagship was fierce but brief. Alien crew members, demoralized by weeks of defeats and system failures, offered little resistance to human soldiers who fought with the desperation of a species defending its home. Admiral Kale was found in his command center, trying frantically to activate manual controls for his doomsday weapon. When Captain Zhang's soldiers surrounded him, the alien commander looked at them with something approaching respect. "You fight like demons," he said through his translation device. I have conquered hundreds of worlds, but I have never faced anything. Like your species? You made a mistake, Captain Zhang replied. You thought we were weak because we fought each other. But fighting each other is what made us strong. We learned to adapt, to survive, to overcome any challenge. You forgot how to do that long ago. The capture of the alien flagship marked the end of the invasion of Earth, but it was also the beginning of something much larger. Humanity now possessed detailed intelligence about the hegemony's operations throughout the galaxy. They knew which worlds were enslaved, which species were suffering under alien rule, and how the entire system of galactic oppression functioned. Commander Yan Huasen received new orders as her ship completed its mission to the Kepler system. Instead of returning to Earth, she was to begin contacting other resistance movements throughout the galaxy. Humanity would not be content with simply defending their own world. They were going to liberate every enslaved species they could find. The galaxy was about to discover that. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons. It was their refusal to accept that any fight was impossible to win. The wreckage of the hegemony fleet drifted in Earth's orbit like a monument to alien arrogance. Massive warships that had conquered hundreds of worlds now floated powerless in space. Their hulls cracked and their systems dead. The species that had been labeled an easy target had become the galaxy's most dangerous predator. Dr. Choi Taeyong stood before a collection of communication arrays that had been built from captured alien technology. She was a small woman with steady hands and a voice that carried across star systems. Today, she would address the entire galaxy with humanity's terms for peace. People of all worlds, she began, her words being translated into thousands of different languages. The age of easy conquest is over. The hegemony told you that resistance was impossible. They were wrong. Humanity has proven that any species willing to fight for freedom can defeat even the most powerful oppressor. Her broadcast reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. On planets where aliens had ruled for centuries, enslaved populations heard a human voice promising liberation. In the halls of galactic government, politicians who had grown fat on the profits of conquest listened with growing fear. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session aboard their massive space station. Representatives from a dozen different species argued loudly about how to respond to the human victory. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others suggested negotiation. A few quietly began planning to change sides. The humans have destroyed our most powerful fleet, announced Council Leader Vrex, his multiple arms gesturing frantically. If other species believe they can follow the human example, our entire system of control will collapse. Then we must make an example of Earth, replied War Minister Koth. Deploy every available ship, reduce their world to lifeless rock. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us. But Councillor Nala, representative of a species that had been conquered, only recently stood to speak. The humans did not simply defeat our forces. They captured our technology, our intelligence networks, our strategic databases. They know the location and defenses of every world under hegemony control. If we attack them directly, they will share that information with every resistance movement in the galaxy. Her words created silence in the council chamber. For the first time in galactic history, the hegemony faced an enemy that could not be defeated through superior force alone. General Kim Hyun-soo walked through the captured alien flagship that would soon become humanity's first interstellar command center. The massive ship had been renamed Liberation and modified with human technology that made it faster and more versatile than any vessel in the alien fleet. Status report, he requested from his staff as they prepared for humanity's first offensive operation beyond Earth. 73 human vessels ready for deployment, reported Captain Lee Yonjin. All ships equipped with hybrid human-alien technology. Crew training completed for interstellar operations. Intelligence confirms 12 enslaved worlds within range of our initial strike force, added Lieutenant Commander Oh Min-jae. Local resistance movements have been contacted and are prepared to coordinate with our arrival. General Kim nodded with satisfaction. The humans were not planning to conquer other worlds. They were planning to liberate them. But liberation required the same tactical skills that had defeated the invasion of Earth. The first human liberation fleet departed from Earth orbit without fanfare or ceremony. 73 ships carrying humanity's most experienced warriors disappeared into hyperspace. Bound for worlds where other species waited for freedom, their first target was a mining world called Zarian, where a species of crystal beings had been enslaved for over 2 centuries. The planet's surface was covered with massive extraction facilities guarded by automated defense systems and a small garrison of alien troops. Colonel Park Jiho commanded the liberation of Zarian using the same adaptive tactics that had worked on Earth. Instead of attacking the heavily defended mining facilities directly, human forces infiltrated the planet's underground tunnel systems where the enslaved crystal beings had been forced to work. The oppressors expect resistance to come from above, he explained to the crystal being leaders. They have never fought an enemy that approaches from below, from within their own operations, from directions they consider impossible. The liberation of Zarian took less than a week. Human forces disabled the planetary defense systems, using electromagnetic interference while the crystal beings rose up against their overseers. The alien garrison surrendered without major fighting when they realized they were surrounded by enemies who knew every tunnel and every weakness in their defenses. News of Zarian's liberation spread throughout the galaxy faster than the hegemony could suppress it. On world after world, enslaved species began planning their own uprisings. The psychological impact was devastating to alien morale and inspiring to resistance. Movements everywhere. Ambassador Nam Jisoo arrived at the Galactic Council space station aboard a human diplomatic vessel that looked nothing like traditional alien ships. It was smaller, faster, and more advanced than anything the Council had seen before. The message was clear. Humanity was not requesting permission to join galactic civilization. They were demanding that galactic civilization change to accommodate justice. The hegemony's reign of terror ends today, Ambassador Nam announced to the assembled representatives. Humanity offers the galaxy a choice. Reform your system of government to respect the rights of all species or face liberation by force. Council leader Vrex responded with traditional bluster. You are one small species from one insignificant world. You cannot dictate terms to the entire galaxy. Ambassador Znon smiled and activated a holographic display showing real-time images from dozens of different worlds. On each planet, liberation fleets were landing and resistance movements were rising up against their oppressors. We are not one small species anymore, she replied calmly. We are the voice of every enslaved population in the galaxy. We are the weapon that will be used by anyone willing to fight for freedom. The holographic display showed human ships working alongside dozens of different alien species. Former enemies had become allies in the fight against the hegemony. Former slaves had become warriors using human tactics and human technology. Dr. Yang Xiaoyun's innovations had spread throughout the galaxy, adapted by different species for their own particular needs. The electromagnetic warfare systems that had disabled alien fleets were now being built by crystal beings, gas-based life forms, and machine intelligences on hundreds of different worlds. The final collapse of the hegemony came not through a single great battle, but through the systematic liberation of every world under alien control. Species after species threw off their chains and joined the growing alliance of free worlds. The Galactic Council's authority evaporated as their member species either defected or declared independence. 6 months after the invasion of Earth had begun, Admiral Kale sat in a human prison cell, writing his memoirs of the war that had changed galactic history. His guards were respectful but firm, understanding that he was a war criminal but also a source of valuable intelligence about hegemony operations. You were right, he wrote in his final entry. Fighting each other did make you strong. We became weak because we forgot that strength comes from adaptation, not from power alone. We forgot that the greatest victories come from learning, not from conquest. The reformed Galactic Assembly held its first meeting on Earth in a building that had been constructed jointly by dozens of different species. Ambassador Namjasu took her place as humanity's representative, but she was no longer alone. Representatives from hundreds of liberated worlds surrounded her, united in their commitment to preventing another age of galactic oppression. Today, we establish a new principle for galactic civilization, she announced to the assembled delegates. Never again will one species be allowed to dominate others through force. Never again will technological superiority be used as justification for enslavement. And never again will any species be dismissed as weak simply because they are different. The final scene of humanity's transformation took place at the Interspecies Military Academy, where young humans and aliens studied together in classrooms that looked out over Earth's restored cities. The lessons they learned were not about conquest or domination, but about adaptation, cooperation, and the strength that comes from diversity. Captain Lee Tiemann, now promoted to admiral, walked through the Academy's halls and remembered the day when alien ships had first appeared in Earth's sky. He had thought they were facing extinction. Instead, they had discovered their true purpose, to be the galaxy's teachers in the art of survival. The humans labeled themselves the most dangerous species in the galaxy, he told a class of mixed human and alien cadets, but we were wrong. We are not dangerous because we are strong. We are dangerous because we refuse to give up, we adapt to any challenge, and we believe that freedom is worth any sacrifice. In the end, humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had liberated it. And in doing so, they had made history itself. Bleed with the pain of transformation and the hope of rebirth,